So yeah, getting into the sort of insight segment itself. Next week, I'm heading to a big digital marketing and SEO conference here in the UK, and one of the fringe events is around Green SEO, and they have a manifesto that focuses on the web's impact on the environment and how we can make our work in the digital realm greener. So this got me thinking about L&D and how so much of it is now using digital resources and cloud-based strategies. So I want to ask you all today to think about how green your LMS is. Now, why is this so important, you might ask? Well, there's been several studies on the energy used by data centers. Now, these are the big warehouses that are full of computers, basically, that host the internet and cloud-based applications. And one from the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy states that 2% of all the electricity used in the US is consumed by data centers. Now, that information's a few years old now, and a more recent report from the BBC came out earlier this year showed that in the UK, we've seen a 400% increase in energy used by data centers since 2015. A large section of that is attributed to AI and the explosion of that. And then in Ireland, which is the home of the European headquarters for several big tech firms like Google and Meta, and I think still eBay, the data centers account for nearly a fifth of the all electricity used in there in 2022. So you can see this is a big impact on the energy we're using around the world. So how does this relate to the impact your LMS and eLearning has on this? So in the graphic, you'll see that the storage of just 1 megabyte of data can emit as much as 20 grams of CO2. And that's the equivalent of running one of the old incandescent light bulbs for 20 minutes. And we all know there's good reasons why we all replaced those light bulbs already. The energy burn is just crazy. So this gives you a kind of a more tangible understanding of how much energy you're using just storing and sending data around the web. So now we get to the good stuff. What can you do to help reduce the footprint of your learning delivery on the environment? Firstly, I guess one of the bigger things is to really audit your LMS, your learning sort of resources and materials, and remove redundant content. And then the next part would be to look at the images you're using. One part of that is the size of the image. So large size images are a real kind of impact on both the storage used, but also how fast they load and how quickly they are seen by users on the web. And then also the data size. So you can reduce that by compressing them and using different formats like WebP to reduce the impact on the storage. And then video files, there's a great tool called Handbrake that Julian brought my attention to, and it's amazing at compressing video, really amazing. I took a sort of a video that was quite high definition, several gigabytes of data, and it brought it right down to a couple of hundred megs without any perceivable sort of change in quality. So do really think about compressing your videos, as I know a lot of you use those. Even when you're uploading them to somewhere like YouTube or somewhere else that you're serving them from, it's still reducing that impact you're having. And then PDFs, so saving those in a web-friendly format rather than a print-friendly format. Even if you are going to print them out, maybe as a handout or something, you may not need them to be perfectly crisp printed documents. They could just be, as long as they're legible and you can see the graphics, and that's fine for internal use. So do think about that. And also be wary of options to flatten the PDF. If you see that as an option, that can actually increase the size. Although it sounds like it may reduce the size, it can actually increase the size of the PDF. And then the last one we've got here actually came from something Lida mentioned in one of the other webinars. It was about using links in emails rather than attaching documents. So that's another way of reducing how much data you're sending around, and also how much data is stored on computers in your wider network, not just your in your data center or in your storage itself, but on other people's computers and the broader network that you're working in. And also when you're updating those documents, you haven't got to resend the documents out. That anyone that's got the link gets the latest version with the updates. Obviously, a big part of reducing this impact is calculating your impact and sort of measuring that. You kind of want to show the reason you're doing it and really kind of measure the change you're making. So the first part of that is to benchmark your current footprint by calculating, using that kind of formula I showed you earlier, that 1 meg equals 20 grams of CO2. You can calculate a rough carbon footprint of your data storage, and then keep a record of the changes you make. So as you compress files, remove redundant content, optimize your media, keep a record of those changes, and over time you'll see this noticeable reduction in storage and in turn your CO2 emissions. And then finally, publish and share your reduced carbon footprint. Share it with your internally and with your stakeholders and other parts of your organization. It can contribute to your company's CSR strategy and then demonstrate your commitment to sustainability. So then how can we help you with this? So as you can see, our cloud services, where we store our current applications and everything you're running on LMS wise, is with Microsoft Azure. And then our version 4 of the LMS will support WebP images, which are sort of recognized as the most compressible image formats and the fastest loading. And then we can help you carry out a content audit. And so I spoke to Julian, he's got some scripts he can run to help you find out, data that you're not really using or resources you're not using in the LMS. And then we're also looking at ways to automate tree planting, physical tree, that will compensate for the carbon generated by the LMS traffic, so the users that are visiting your LMS. We'll try and balance that out, compensate for that by planting trees.